it now. So,
Okay.
fingers crossed. Oh, whoa, what? You started early, you jerk.
No, I hit it right as the timer went down to 0. So.
Okay, sure. Well, it was still saying 11:59 on my computer.
Oh, I hit it as it. Okay.
I trust you. I trust you.
Welcome everyone to the Unready room. Unready as always, sometimes by accident, sometimes by design. I'm Dan Gunther. With me, of course, is Brandi Jackola. I am so excited to talk about this episode.
Me too.
And there's so much.
So much.
TJ, I did not quite watch it 6 times, but yeah, that sounds about right.
3 for me.
3 for me as well, which is
Yeah.
unusual. Usually it's just the 2 times I've had a chance to watch it, but I did watch it a 3rd time right before we started recording.
Same.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah, it is so dense. There's so much in this episode, and I'm using a different mic so I can't hear myself, so I'm going to uncover one ear because it's bugging me. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus. A sequel to one of my favorite episodes of Lower Decks, Crisis Point from season 1. I think it's since been supplanted as my top number 1 episode, but it is still right up there. Like, yeah. So a sequel to that, I was very excited. Really looking forward to watching this one, and it did not disappoint. So
no, it did not.
Yeah, really, really good. Okay. So we're back on the holodeck. We get that teaser that we all kind of saw early because they released it for Star Trek Day a few weeks back or a couple months back, whenever that was.
September 8th, dude. September 8th.
Wow. Okay. Not as long ago as I thought then. So, but
yeah, I mean, because Star Trek Day is always September.
Of course it is. Yes. Can you tell I'm excited?
Yes, we're all excited.
So yeah, we've got the Cerritos under attack by the Romulan triplets here with Klingon style boob windows. I think it should be pointed out.
I did notice that. Hey, they're triplets and they want to show it off.
Yeah, I mean, obvious homage to the Duras sisters. So
yes, except these are the Melponar triplets.
Yeah. Yeah,
Melponar. Melponar. That's the way they said it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're after something called the chronogami, which is, of course,
so great.
Chronos referring to time, and gami, the ancient art, referring to origami.
We get it.
I love that.
So great.
So, yeah, this is not written and produced by Mariner this time, but Boimler instead. And I love the character names. First of all, one thing I want to say about this episode is Mariner's role in it is kind of interesting. Like, even though it's about Boimler and most of the character arc we get for Boimler and all of that stuff is that's focused on him. But I think this episode says a lot of interesting stuff about Mariner as well, because she is taking the subordinate role to Boimler and supporting him. And there's a couple times in the episode where she's kind of chafing against it, but the fact that she's there and she's supporting him and even taking the name of Commander Doodle, which is, I think,
Rebecca Doodle.
I think is obviously designed to poke fun at her a little bit, but she's taking it. She's like, yeah, I'm here to support Boimler. And then, storms off at one point. But when she realizes why Boimler's acting the way he is, she comes back and supports him and is just all in on helping him, which I think was always there for her character, but not on the surface. And it's nice to see her so openly supportive and giving to Boimler, which is really nice to see. That was like true friendship there.
Yes, and I think that this level of friendship has existed for a while now, maybe not at first, but now definitely. And it's like when she was with Ransom and he was giving her review and saying, "Hey, yeah, all the department heads have nothing but nice things to say about you, etc." And she, when he says, "Oh, how's Boimler doing?" She goes, "Annoying. Why?" Just because she's really upset with him because she doesn't understand what's going on. But when she has the context of it, she's like, "Oh no!"
Mm-hmm.
And what's the first thing she does? She goes running back in, and that just, because Boimler would do the same thing for her, and she knows that.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that little bit of a throwaway line from Ransom that her evaluations are excellent, all the department heads are really pleased, like that's not a small thing for
No, it's
where
not.
she's gone as a character too. That's really cool.
Yeah, which is not to say she's not a badass. She totally is.
Yeah,
But you can still work within the rules and be a badass. It can be
absolutely. Yeah.
done. So, but I really did love that part. One thing I have to say, one thing that really cracked me up, and I didn't really notice it until the second time we watched it, when she's storming out of the holodeck, she has to step over the widescreen
Yep,
to
I
get
love
out.
that.
Mwah.
I love that. Yeah,
The attention to detail, so great.
absolutely. In Crisis Point, it was pretty cool to see the outside of the holodeck was in, the full um whatever the aspect ratio is, and the inside was smaller, but like you said, they took it just one step further this time by showing them stepping over the black bars, which again, how does that, oh, it makes my brain hurt, but
You don't have to explain it. It's technobabble. It's fine.
I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah.
um Tristan, yeah. A Sovereign class with Luna class graphics on the bridge for some reason. Okay, so yeah, we have the Sovereign class USS Wayfarer, and the official explanation is they reused the graphics from the Titan to
Mm.
populate the set of the Wayfarer. But I think if the animators were really smart and they got caught with this and questioned about it, I would say that that's another homage, because in Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, they reused the Enterprise bridge as the Reliant, obviously, and redressed it and moved things around somewhat. But on some of the computer displays, you can see a secondary hull like the Enterprise has, which the Reliant doesn't have. So I would say this is just an homage to that, and showing, that.
Yep. I agree. I'm gonna go with that. Whether it's actual canon, it's my head canon for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Yeah. So much going on in this episode. Uh First of all, Captain Bucephalus Dagger. Um
I must point out,
Bucephalus. Sorry.
Bucephalus is a real name
Yes.
because when I was typing it into my list of possible middle names, it auto finished it for me. And I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Yep.
Haven't heard this one before, but real name.
So the only Bucephalus that I know of, that I've heard of, is Alexander the Great's horse is named
Mm,
Bucephalus. And when I first watched it, I was like, okay, that's just a random, I guess Boimler likes Alexander the Great's horse. But then in the final bit of the episode, there is a bit to do with a horsey, which we will
yep.
get to. And I'm
Would you like
wondering,
to
like,
be the horse?
was there that much thought put into that? I kind of love that. I don't know. I
I
don't
I
know
bet there
what.
was. I see, that's the thing. I bet there was because they really don't do anything that isn't going to pay off at some point.
Mm,
Even if you have to wait an entire season or 2 for the payoff, it's gonna get paid off.
yeah. The horsey is going to bite you now. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Oh
So great.
man.
So great.
Oh man. So yeah, there's so much going on. We get the credits, of course. We get everybody's name. Rebecca Doodle, I love Rutherford's character is kind of like a Creole name, and he's gonna play it up like that. And he's like, no, I'll probably just play it straight.
Yeah, and also the title was very Wrath of Khan.
Oh yes, absolutely. Also, did you notice we didn't get a traditional regular title in the corner of the screen? It's
Yep,
instead that movie title is the title card for the episode. I thought that was kind of clever.
very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, and Devana Tendi. Okay, so we have Tendi kind of taking a very she's taking this very seriously. She's really getting into it. And early on, especially in my second and third watch throughs, I noticed that tension between Tendi and Rutherford very early on, where Rutherford's just kind of like, whatever, having fun. Oh, these graphics are mind blowing, Rutherford. Little things like that.
The amusing thing being, of course, that whole scene was a riff on Regula One and Carol Marcus,
Oh
and
yes. Oh, I
the
have stuff to
video
say about
about,
that.
yeah, yeah. Because when Star Trek II: Wrath of Khan came out, computer animation wasn't big.
Hmm.
And so for that entire video, that was super high tech for the time,
Oh
like
yeah,
really high tech.
absolutely. Okay, so yeah, well let's get there right now because we've got this temporal research outpost, the inside of which just meticulously they've recreated the Regular One space laboratory set, the uniforms, the weird beams that I don't understand the architecture of that place at all, but
No.
that's what we get here. And that Starfleet top secret project briefing, the thing that I absolutely loved about it was we see the screen in the wide shot and they go to the close up, and just like in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, that close up has a different shaped screen with different like knobs and dials on the outside of the screen that aren't in the wide shot.
Yes. So
Like
perfect.
they
So perfect.
meticulously recreated that to the point of like this makes no sense at all, but it's beautiful and I love it. It's so good.
Yeah,
That was
absolutely.
by far my favorite little realization there. I was like, wait, oh my god, they redid that.
So, see, that's the thing. These guys just know what they're doing, and they're such loving Star Trek fans. And I have lost Dan. I know he was having internet problems earlier, and I do not want to go on without Dan with us to talk about the rest of that scene. I do find I do find it amusing that, of course, Boimler wrote himself a former girlfriend into the whole thing, and then was just like, "No, I don't care."
um, that was really weird. My
Yeah, that was
page
really
just
weird.
cleared. I have no idea what happened there.
That's okay. I just, I vamped till you got back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, that was really bizarre. Okay. Um, so yeah. Yeah, the love interest you were talking about, I'm assuming there. Sorry.
Yes, I was, which was amusing. And see, the thing was, and someone else in the chat said this, and I think it might have been TJ. I'm not entirely sure that the minute Boimler came back, he knew what had happened, and I didn't know for sure who it was, but I figured it was William. But I'm like, ah,
Hmm.
somebody died, especially when he says that whole thing while they're watching the video about how someone can just, you can live your life and just all of a sudden one day you're just gone and there's no reason for it. And I'm just like, yep, definitely somebody died, probably William.
Yeah, I'm my mind for whatever reason didn't go to William. I kind of I wasn't really speculating though. I was just like, oh no, somebody died, and the episode is so fast that that's kind of the brain power that I put to it and then went
Yes.
back into the episode kind of thing. But it makes perfect sense, of course. That yeah, we find out a neurazine gas leak in his quarters killed William Boimler. Um, yeah.
Mm. While he was
Interesting.
sleeping.
Hmm.
Mm.
Which, by the way, um, they use Neurazine correctly here, because in, I think it's the Deep Space Nine episode, Civil Defense, when the station's automatic, attention Bajoran workers, there's a riot in progress and the station tries to kill everybody, basically. They
Mhm.
talk about flooding all the decks with Neurazine gas, which will kill everybody. And then the Voyager episode, Message in a Bottle, and this always bugs me, is when they're trying to think of ways to incapacitate the Romulans on the ship. Um, they're like, we have anesthetizine, we have Neurazine, and the doctor, the AMH, is like, Neurazine will work. It can be dispensed as a gaseous form. And I'm like, that's taking things up a notch. You're going to kill everybody on board. Yikes.
Well, I suppose it depends on the concentration,
It
parts per million.
could. They
It
seem
could.
pretty worried about it, in like, no matter what. I don't know, but
Right? Yeah,
that's just always kind of bugged me. So,
and rightly
uh,
so.
yeah, do no harm, doctors. Come on.
First, do no harm,
Yeah,
dudes.
yeah. um, we have the planet Tatashore 9, which was
Yes!
wonderful.
Yes. Well, see, and the first time I watched it, and the first time you watched it too, I'm assuming, there was, no subtitles, because screeners don't have subtitles, and so
Mhm.
I'm like, "Did they just say Fred's name?" They
Yeah,
did say Fred's name!
because a little later we do get the title card, or
The
the
Tatasher
location
9.
card, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's like, it is. That's
It's like,
awesome.
"Here you guys, here's how you pronounce his name. Tatasur.
Mhm.
Tatasur."
Yeah, but typical English pronunciation, as we've seen elsewhere, has been Tatashore, so it kind of
Mhm.
works, and I like
Yeah,
that. That
yeah.
was that was cool. Be nice to see, like, let's get the other ones in there too. Although Tatashore is just such a Star Trekky sounding enough name
Doesn't it
too.
sound great?
It
It's
works really
just
perfectly.
now it's canon. Now it's
Yeah.
canon. That's a beautiful thing. That makes me happy.
I love that. Absolutely. Okay, what have we got? Okay, we've got the basically the alley full of religious groups, I guess. That's where they all congregate. And I laughed out loud at the one guy. We're all holograms in a simulation.
Yes. Yes.
That was wonderful.
Absolutely. Yep. I actually wrote down notes this time because there were so many things that happened that I
Oh
wanted to make
yes.
sure I remembered them all.
Minuki, we need to, that
Let
nice little
Manuki guide
callback.
you.
That was good. Absolutely. Was there anything else you noticed in this section that you wanted to?
There was so much going on, and, I I really loved Knick Knack.
I do too. Kind of alien of the week BS is this?
Just it was just so cute. I'm just like, I hope this is not just throwaway character when you get to see him do something, and oh boy, do we. It's just they keep mispronouncing his name, and he keeps correcting them. It was just it's such a weird creature, and kind of in a little once you see his full form, kind of had arms a little bit like a, for heaven's sake, I hate when I do this, Tholian. There it is.
Yeah, a little,
So,
yeah, kind of.
yeah.
That's
I
cool.
had I had to visualize it in my mind, that's why I closed my eyes and, like, look at the alien, remember what it's called. Oh, yes. Tholian. And now the computer's just doing adaptive programming because 'cause they're off script. They're not following the things that Boimler programmed, and so well, this is where they where everybody kinda splits up because 'cause
Mhm.
they're trying to get the chronogami, and the Romulans are taking off, and so they gotta get on grav bikes and go chase them. And that was actually kinda Star Wars, but that's okay.
Mhm.
I
To
was
be
I was
fair,
good
Star
for it.
Trek movies have been kind of Star Wars.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's fine. That's fine. I mean, honestly, the motion picture was in response to Star Wars because
Mhm.
Roddenberry was like, "Ah!" we can do this. We can do this. Let's do this. Not like that, of course, but I'm just saying.
Mhm.
I wasn't there. I was alive, but I wasn't there.
No.
So, but yeah. So I love that Boimler's like, okay, I gotta find answers. I gotta find meaning to this meaningless thing. And Mariner doesn't get why this is happening yet. And so this guy talking about Kitty Hawk, and I said, Kitty Hawk? Are we really going with Kitty Hawk here? Sure enough,
That was a wonderful reveal.
it
That
was.
was ridiculous. I mean,
I know, this thing's
obviously
so great.
obviously aping the Voyager
Yes.
6 reveal, of course.
Yeah.
But Boimler's reaction, this reveal doesn't make any sense. So good. Oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah. So Boimler basically tells Tendi she's acting captain, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you!" She's so excited.
Yeah.
So excited.
That was fun. I there's I got a little bit annoyed, I do have to say, at Rutherford again in this
Mhm,
episode, and a little bit annoyed at Tendi. The two of them got a little bit like, ugh, and then you realize what's going on later. It's like, okay, yeah, this is cool. But Rutherford, this is not the first time, and I've noted this in previous episodes, where he's kind of oblivious to Tendy's reactions to things sometimes, and
mm,
is a little bit kind of not unfeeling, that's not the right word, but just oblivious. I guess that's perfect to what's going on with her. And you kind of just want to give him a little shake sometimes and say, like, pay attention to your friend, dude. You're
mhm.
obviously, this is not sitting well with her, and maybe question why that is, or you know I don't know.
Maybe that's a little bit part of his old personality.
That
Just a
could be,
little
yeah.
something left in the old subroutines, maybe.
Hmm. Yeah, that could be. It fits with his backstory that we got a little bit, so interesting.
Yeah.
um So okay, yeah, we've got the diverging stories, where Boimler's going on the off on this procedurally generated holodeck adventure, apart from the story that he's written, which is what Rutherford and Tandy and them are doing. We learn about the algae crisis of the mid 24th century, it was 2341. Um, which on the face of it, kind of silly, but kind of cool, because I love that Lower Decks is creating their own references, and like they didn't go
Mhm.
back to some historical thing from the Star Trek universe that we've previously known about. They created this and went back to it. And I thought that was kind of cool. I like that.
I liked that too, and when you really think about it, if algae goes uncontrolled, it
Mhm.
could absolutely take over the planet.
Mhm. Yeah, I like that. And yeah, the cephalopod officer who
Yeah.
basic
Ambassador Kodo.
Ambassador Kodo, yeah, who solved the crisis. They realize he's the key, and in a later part, they go back to 1982, and they have to save an ancestor of his who's living in an aquarium in Sydney, Australia. 1982, by the way, my birth year. So I was like, "Ooh!" when that came up. That's kind of cool. Um,
I was 9 in 1982.
yeah, and
It's okay.
I'm the same age as Wrath of Khan. That's how I.
Yeah, a good one, good one. I like that. I am the same age as The Legend of Hell House.
Oh, that's
So,
cool too.
there we go. I can't say any, Star Trek movies because Star Trek movies didn't happen
Mhm.
before, 1979.
Yeah. I'm assuming 1982 was picked because that's the year Wrath of Khan came out. That's my
Probably.
guess. It's
I
the
mean,
second movie they're doing. So it's like, yeah.
why not do that? I mean, if you're
Yeah.
going to use a specific year, why not it be the movie that you're partially aping right now?
Mhm.
So
Uh Yeah, and also the punks, of course. We have to shout them out. We've got
So fun with
the
the
Kirk
boombox
Thatcher
and
homage.
oh, really quickly. Okay, before we go any further, because this reminds me of this. If you all have Disney Plus, please go watch Werewolf by Night. It's amazing
Oh, I
and
haven't done that
wonderful,
yet.
and Kirk Thatcher is in it. So
I've
go
heard
watch it.
that's so cool.
We watched it this morning and I loved it.
That's excellent. Um, yeah, so they've got to rescue this. Yeah, we don't really see much beyond um, Rutherford trying to get the
That was so
punk's
funny
outfit.
though. Give me a
That's so
chick.
fit. We got to get bigger punks.
Just him just like tugging him off. I was laughing so hard during that. I'm like totally inappropriate time to be doing that, but it was just funny.
Oh, that was wonderful. Um, yeah, I I actually recorded with the Infinite Diversity folks for their podcast to talk about this episode, and there's a good point that was raised, which was like a happy medium would be between Tendi and Rutherford. Like Tendi's taking it way too seriously, and Rutherford is just being obnoxious in how unseriously he's taking it. Like, you got to play the game, you got to get into it a bit, but
It's
yeah,
live action role playing. Take it.
yeah,
You have to take it a little more seriously. Going and getting a
absolutely,
sandwich and chips. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah.
Don't break the reality.
So from there, we end up at the founding of the Federation in 2161.
I really
Um,
wanted to see Archer, damn it.
that's exactly what I thought too. I really wanted to see an animated Archer, which, technically, I guess maybe we sort of did if he's possibly one of those guys that's this big. There's definitely an Andorian down there, which is pretty cool. Um, the thing that kind of blew my mind a little bit was like they're up on that same platform that Riker and Troy were in their holodeck simulation of this, but also where Archer and Daniels were when they traveled to there from that's a very popular viewing
It
platform.
really is, and why not? It's let's just pound that in as much as we can. You get 3. You get 3 references, and then it's too much. Then
Mhm.
it's the rule of 3. It can be
Yeah,
funny or interesting 3 times, and then after that, you're just going to annoy people.
makes sense. Yeah. um we've got this bomb that's going to take out the founding of the Federation, which looks exactly like the Thaleron bomb that took out the Senate in
Mhm.
Nemesis. It's a
Yep.
nice
Oh,
little
they're
reference.
referencing all kinds of Star Trek movies up in here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And this horrible sad death scene of Dr. Ta'ana, um and the slowest disintegration ever. um that was brutal and horrific, and that was the point actually that I kind of wanted to smack Rutherford a little bit when and he quips about it smelling like, was it fried Romulan in here or something.
Mhm.
And I'm just like, oh dude, read the room.
Mhm.
Like Tendy's crying.
Yeah. And then she lets him have it, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh!
Yeah.
Oh, I see." And from then on, he is on board.
He snaps to, and what are your orders, Captain? And she's beaming. She's really enjoying this. And as she said, it's the first time she says out loud that she wants to be a captain, which is kind of cool. Like, that's interesting. So I've got to ask, how do you feel about Tendy's desire to become a captain? What?
I think it's fantastic. I love it. And it didn't surprise me at all, because I thought she's taking this really seriously. I bet she doesn't understand quite yet that she wants to be a captain, and that's why
Mm,
she's so annoyed with Rutherford. And it wasn't until she's pushed to the breaking point that she's actually having that revelation at the same time that Rutherford is.
mhm.
So, and I actually just really loved it. I'm like Rutherford in the way that I would have Tendi as my captain any day.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I love. I'm curious to see her journey from this point on, because we know like she's on path to become a bridge officer, like she's trying to work towards being a bridge science officer. And I'm really interested to see where that goes after that. Like I hope she realizes that. I hope I didn't phrase that. I hope that dream of hers is realized, is what I mean. And because Janeway, of course, became a captain via the sciences, right? She was a science officer before becoming a captain. And I could totally see Tendi following that same route. And yeah, she'd make a pretty cool captain, I think. She's definitely got the action movie moves here with the bike chase scene and the flip. And
It's all that pirate training, man. All
oh
that
yeah,
pirate training gonna come in handy as a captain.
absolutely. Okay. So yeah, we'll get to the resolution of their part of the movie in a bit, but first, like, let's join Mariner and
Oh,
Boimler.
one
Oh,
thing
sorry.
really quick.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny that Rutherford was singing the Choo Choo song because we've never heard it.
Yes.
So
I
finally we have some context.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that he was just kind of able to make up and riff on the spot. I'm assuming they didn't give him notes to sing. Like he probably just made that all up, and now
Probably
that's the
did.
Choo Choo song.
Well done, Eugene. Well done.
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, Mariner and Boimler and the was it the moons of Shatanari?
Shatanari.
Yeah.
Third
Uh
moon of Shatanari.
yeah. Very obvious. I mean, we know. Yeah.
It's no Tatishore 9, but
No. But we do finally get what looks in the vein of William Shatner's aborted rock monster sequence in Star Trek V that had that look to it.
right? At the
um,
same time, it was kind of reminding me of the animated movie Aladdin with the Cave of
that
Wonders.
was brought up in Infinite Diversity as well.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who thought that.
I
'Cause
hadn't
I
thought
thought,
of
"Is
it
that
until
weird?"
it was mentioned, but yeah. Oh, what is it? A diamond in the rough.
There you go. Wait, is Tony Todd here? What just happened? I know that wasn't Tony Todd's voice. I'm just saying Tony Todd
Yeah,
sounds
that
like
is
that.
reminiscent.
So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but so yeah, it Boimler goes before Katiha, this god, and asks about the meaning of life and what is the purpose of life, and we get basically a random inspirational quote generator, which yeah.
yeah, and, Boimler is understandably angry.
Hmm.
Very, very angry, and he decides he's going to kill a god.
Yep. Um, so yeah, he kicks open this hole in the side, which, by the way, the hole he kicks open is just below the much larger hole that is the mouth that
Mhm.
he could have just walked into. But I thought
No,
that
he
was
was
amusing.
angry. He needed to punch things.
Yeah. He crawls in. We get this reveal that it's the right flyer from Kitty Hawk. Kitty Hawk, Kitty Hawk, ha ha ha. And he's really upset about this. And I guess gets dehydrated for,
Well,
for going by.
we all know he doesn't drink enough water. That has been a running joke since
Mhm.
season 1.
I love that. Yeah, he passes out from the heat and has this vision, and he's on a farm in Idaho, and we've got the mailbox that says Kirk on it, and he's he hears someone and walks towards this figure. Now, the voice is so iconic that even the very, very low volume we hear this person talking to the horse. I was like, oh, that's George Takei.
Mhm. I was so happy about that because 'cause I'm
Yes.
just like, "Oh, please don't let it be Kirk."
I thought There was like a quarter second before we heard that voice that I was like, did they get a William Shatner cameo? Does that really? Huh.
Yeah.
And then we hear the voice and I'm like, oh yes. Oh no, they didn't. I love this.
Yeah, well, George Takei has done other voice work,
Oh yeah,
and I
absolutely.
love it every time I hear him. He actually he was actually he did a voice in this video game called Yakuza Like a Dragon,
Hmm.
and he was actually a family head of a Yakuza group. It's not what you think. It's actually an amazingly silly and entertaining game that, focuses more on the, um what's the word I'm looking for here? The not alliance, anyway, being part of a family, caring for that family, even if you're not family by blood, etc., and actually not screwing people over and trying to keep the balance,
Hmm.
basically, of power between all of the groups. But anyway, so George Takei was the voice in that, and I knew it immediately. The first time I heard the character speak, I'm just like,
Hmm.
oh, George, and he's so good. He's so good in this
Yeah.
game. He's so perfect. It was great.
Oh,
I
that's
just
awesome.
really, I love George. I love George. He's amazing, and I just want to hear him in everything now. Just do more voice work, George.
Hmm. And I love this scene because
Mm-hmm.
it's so poignant and meaningful. Um, I'm just wondering if they have the exact text here. Um, okay, yeah. When Boimler's talking to him and says, I was in the holodeck trying to find meaning in the randomness of death, but I just made a fool of myself." And Sulu replies to him, "Brad, I've lost many friends, some heroically, some tragically. The randomness of death is merely a reflection of the unexpected joys we find in life." And it's Sulu talking, but I'm hearing George Takei, and I'm hearing, and I mean, I don't know how much I want to read into that, but I'm with the recent passing of Nichelle Nichols and the loss of so many of his colleagues from back in the TOS days, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of, and that's what I'm feeling, and I'm sure that's what many people watching this are thinking and feeling. And I feel like I heard that in George's voice as well. And it's so moving. Um, and then the immediate follow up, of course. So if I spend my life worrying about a meaningless death, I'll never find joy. I literally just
Literally
said
just
that.
said that.
It's so good.
Yep. Yep.
Oh.
My favorite is when he sees Sulu and he's like Captain Kirk and he's like, "Oh no, oh my no." And then it's him and he says, "Oh, Captain Sulu, even better." Love
Now,
that.
this is, I think, canonically in Star Trek, the first time Sulu says, "Oh my."
I believe so.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I believe
That's
so.
pretty cool. Oh my, no.
This is great. I'm so glad they had him do that because we all wanted it. We wanted it.
Yeah. That was such a nice surprise for this episode, and just such a beautiful ending for that story. And then yeah, so back with Rutherford and Tendi, they pull the old reset button trick. They use the time travel device they've had the entire movie to go back to the beginning of the movie and switch the bomb with the thing, and done and done. It's a Voyager-esque ending to it. It's
Mhm.
perfect. And they all end up in sick bay because Boimler, of course, passed out and was dehydrated, and Dr. Ta'ana is understandably upset with him. You got to keep hydrated in the holodeck. So um, I thought that was a fun ending, and of course, what's his face? The ransom sycophant. Um,
Stevens.
Stevens, thank you. I don't know why I have a mind block on that guy's name. Leaned against the warp core, apparently
Again.
the second time today. Um, Yeah, I don't know what to think about that guy.
I ooh, I don't even know. I don't even know. He is just whoa. How can one person be that careless or dumb?
Yeah. There's one other thing I want to say about Stevens, and we get this really funny moment earlier in the episode where Ransom is talking about his best friends, right? He
Mhm.
says Honus the bartender, Matt the whale, and I forget who the
Nurse something,
oh,
I
Nurse
can't remember.
Westlake. Nurse Westlake, yeah.
Westlake,
So
yes.
Honus the bartender, Nurse Westlake, and Matt the whale, best friends forever. You know who wasn't in that group was Stevens.
Stevens, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You've gotta stop telling people we have a sacred bond. Well, I feel it, sir, and I know you do too. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. But at least the movie doesn't end with an overly dark cliffhanger, you know. That would be ridiculous.
I hate those.
Yeah. Um, and I want to highlight Patrick's comment here because I love this. What Boimler said about cliffhangers was almost verbatim my mom's reaction to the Best of Both Worlds cliffhanger all those years ago. Felt like she was giving me a little wink there. I looked at her urn and smiled. And yeah, that's I saw you commented that as well in the discussion group, and yeah, that's meaningful, and I love that. That's a sweet moment for sure. But now for our dark cliffhanger. Because we've got a redacted system and we know it's not the movie because the black bars aren't there. This is actual
Mhm.
real life. We get a Defiant class starship and William Boimler, he's actually alive and he's being handed a black com badge. And I love this commentary because thank you. Wait, isn't Section 31 supposed to be super secret? Why do we have a com badge advertising? You can still be dead. I love the badge.
Doink! Just flicks his old one off. Oh, that was so fun. It was such a Boimler moment. So there is still a lot of Boimler in William.
Oh yes, absolutely. Um, that commentary that was great. That little poking fun at that. Because yeah, I still have questions, but
Yeah, me too. It's just
yeah. No,
it's
you know
one of
what?
those
I like the badge. It's great.
it's great.
Oh man. Um okay. The other thing that I just wanted to mention, and I wanted to mention this at the beginning, but I love that after two of these episodes now, like the term crisis point just has such a double meaning because
Mhm.
in that first episode, Mariner was at a crisis in her life. Like she was out of control as far as her seeming hatred of her mother and pushing against everything that was going on. And at this point as well, Boimler absolutely in a mental health crisis here after learning this news and stuff. So I love that crisis point just has that double meaning, and I hope um, and I feel like the writers know this and they're absolutely going in this direction. If this is brought back a third time, that it's in service of that same idea of, you know, obviously the characters, we've come to know and love them, and they are real people. Like they're animated, but
Mm.
like Cisco would say, they're real.
They're real. They're real.
You
They're real
know,
to me, man.
yeah. And
Crisis Point 3, The Return of Badgie.
mhm, could be, could be. That would be interesting. Again, as long as it has something deeper to say about the character development of one of our characters or something like that,
Oh,
right?
it'd have a lot to say about Rutherford, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah,
Just a thought, just a thought.
that would be cool. Oh man, there's so much in this episode. I'm sure like we haven't even touched on close to all of it. So, is there
Yeah.
anything that you want to bring up that I haven't mentioned so far?
Yes, when they are, in the brig on the freighter of acolytes and
Mm.
religious people, and, Mariner and Boimler decide to break out, and then there's Knick-Knack breaking in,
Yep.
and they go to the bridge, and, Mariner thinks that Boimler's gonna give this big, inspiring speech, and then he just starts beating the crap
Oh yeah,
out
no, we
of
could
this
do the Kirk thing.
guy. It was so funny, and then, Knick-Knack becomes his full form,
Yeah.
and she says, "Oh, hey, loving that third act Knick-Knack reveal."
Mm-hmm.
And that cracked me up.
There's so much in there too, like even in just that little section you mentioned, the break into the brig, like that's Scotty in Star Trek 5, right?
Mhm.
And we also had the little bit where it's like, get your hands off me. You don't even have names. You know
Mm.
nothing of our ways. Seize her, acolyte too. I love that.
So
Oh,
great.
and yeah, Tristan's right there with me.
Mhm.
Oh man. So yeah, even just that little section that you mentioned, there's so many little tiny references and
So many.
jokes and I love this. I love this
It's
show so much.
Me too, me too. These characters are as dear to me as any Star Trek show. I don't care about the animation aspect of it. They are they're my darlings. They're my darlings.
Could I also call out they're probably trying to buy Wallerian deutronium to power the chronogasmic matrix. Yeah, Doc, you really want to avoid that many made up words in a row.
Yes.
Oh, so great. Um,
Oh,
Also the romantic subplot that came back a little bit because the
the
initial one
knick-knack.
had been discarded. I never stop believing in you, Purplehead. I love you. I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you too, buddy. Let's go. Oh, there's your romance.
And Mariner's like, "Oh, there's your romance."
Yeah, that was
Just
perfect. Um, does anybody else really want to see Knick-Knack again? Like, I would love it to have him back.
I would. I love
he
Knick-Knack. I love
he needs to
Knick-Knack
become
Knick-Knack
recurring
immediately.
in the crisis
Yes.
points. Yeah.
He could have just been this throwaway alien of the week, and he was just even with what little he said in the beginning, "The purple-headed one is wise," stuff like that. I'm like, "No, I'm into this. I'm into this. Let's do this."
Absolutely. Oh man. How do we feel about William Boimler joining up with Section 31?
I'm still processing that, and I'm wondering if, um, if he's going to do something that Boimler gets blamed for, Bradward gets blamed
Mm.
for, or is this a sort of infiltration?
Yeah, Linda kind of you're
Yeah,
you're
I think there have been other people in the chat that might have said the same thing, but I'm just not sure what to make of it yet because I just don't see. I mean, I don't know, because William is still Boimler. He's still
Mhm.
Boimler, and I just can't see Boimler working for Section 31. I
Yeah.
guess we'll see someday. Someday.
There was that little, I think it was season 1, I think it was the second episode where he's doing the power walk and he's like, "This is how Section 31 does it." So, there might be a little bit of a romanticization in his head. Like he's obviously
Mhm.
heard of Section 31. There might be a little bit of romanticizing what they are and what they do. But I do agree with DJ Kitty Cat as well. Like he cackles at the end, and I'm like, if he's playing it straight, if he's not a mole and not infiltrating it, that's a little disappointing. That he's seems to be automatically evil, the evil twin kind of thing. I guess I don't know.
I I'm reserving judgment because I don't want to believe that William
Hmm.
is evil, and I honestly, at this point, don't think he is. I feel like this is an infiltration.
Yeah, and it could very well be. In which case, you know, that's a totally different ball game for sure. I do have to say I'm a little bit just tired of Section 31 a little bit. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. It's
That's fine.
I love Deep Space Nine. I loved Section 30. Well, I didn't love Section 31 in Deep Space Nine. You know what I mean? Like as a plot point, they were interesting. But out of all of the things they introduced, it's the one that I'm kind of like, I might have gone back in time and scrubbed that a little bit out of history if I could, just from what it's given us since, like Into Darkness and some of the stuff that they did later with but
Yeah,
I'm
it's not my
curious to
favorite.
see where it goes.
Yeah. Oh, another thing that I forgot to mention is when they are at the beginning of the episode and they're just starting this thing, and Mariner's irritated that he's doing a worse version of her film. And
Mhm.
Brad is just he's being bold Boimler, and he's like, well, it was originally my programming, so I can do what I want. It's like, good for you, man.
Mhm.
Good for you.
I did like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, final thoughts and ratings, I guess, for Crisis Point 2 Paradoxus.
Mm. I unabashedly adore this episode. I think it might even be better than Crisis Point 1.
Hmm.
It feels it feels even better to me. But that's just me. I don't like to pit episodes against each other because it just, making me choose a favorite is just hard on me, and I don't like
Mhm.
doing it. So I think I'm going to give this one giant threshold because I just had the best time. The best time with this episode.
I did love that. They're crossing the origamic threshold. That was my favorite. Yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I just Crisis Point just has such a special place in my heart. This one, it comes very, very, very close. I really enjoy it. It's probably easily in my top 5 episodes of Lower Decks, period, which is rarefied air. There's some great episodes in that group, right? So
Mhm.
um I think my favorite episode of all time of Lower Decks so far is still Wage Douche. Like I love that episode so much.
It's a great
Um,
episode.
but yeah, the rest of the top 5 are populated by this, the DS9 episode, the original Crisis Point. Yeah, they're all up there. They're so good.
Mhm.
9 out of 10 skinfolds. Ooh. Um, yeah, and I mean
Nice.
the Sulu cameo is so good, and just so meaningful.
Mhm.
So I mean, yeah, that might push it higher for me too. But yeah, I love meaningful character development, and this episode has that in spades. And yeah, just the film narrative idea and making fun, not making fun, but playing homage to all of those film tropes. It's always so much fun to watch. So this is one big chronogami. That's all I've got. It's so good.
It is so good. And I love that they're at the point again, we've talked about this in other episodes, but I love that they're at the point that they can reference themselves so
Mhm.
much. So, like the
Yeah.
Choo Choo song that we'd
Yeah,
never heard before.
absolutely. Uh, Sovereign class ships. That was beautiful to see in animation too, of course.
Yeah,
Um,
the first thing I did was I looked at Dave and I said, "Dave, that's a Sovereign class ship."
Perfect. Well, yeah, so 2 episodes left in season 3 of Lower Decks. Next week we've got the episode whose title I can't remember off the top of my head now, but
Oh, hell. Let me
Trusted Sources.
Yes,
Trusted Sources.
I was gonna say, I know it's not Trust No One. Don't
Yep,
know why that even came to my
Trusted
brain.
Sources is next week's
Yep.
episode, which I've not seen. I don't know anything about it, but the number of times that like people who leak Star Trek information online, even though they're not leaks and they've made it up completely out of whole cloth, like Alex Kurtzman breaking a TV or something, whatever the stupid idiots were saying, that they always have trusted sources. So I'm like,
Mhm.
ooh, is that a little, I don't know. I think that's funny if it is, but
I know the answer to that because I've seen it,
well,
but I
we're
can't
not
tell you.
talking about that. Nope. So, yeah, very excited for that. And then, of course, after that, we have the finale. So, oh boy. So next week, I know this was at an unusual time. Next week will, if Brandi, you're okay with that, will also be at this unusual time, if that's okay. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good.
everybody tune in next week. 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Mountain. That's our time zone. So, yeah, we'll be here talking about trusted sources, and not in the way that most YouTube channels usually talk about trusted sources. So,
I always do it in quotes
yeah.
because they're never trusted sources ever, ever.
Absolutely. So, Brandi, if people want to follow what you're doing online, where can they find you?
Uh, just the usual place, Twitter at Brandywine12. And I'm just there's still a lot of stuff going on in my personal life right now, so a lot of things are on hold, except for this show. This show never goes on hold, y'all. This show will always be a priority because, you know, it's
Yay.
live. It's live. Can't just say,
Awesome.
"Oh, can we do that later?" No, 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 we gotta do it
No.
live.
Well, I truly do appreciate spending time with you here each week. And
Me
to everyone
too.
else in the comments and those of you watching later, I appreciate you spending the time with us. And we truly do appreciate it. You can find me on Twitter at Kertrats, that's Kertrats. And of course, in Positively Trek, weekly podcast that I do with Barry DeForge. So, yeah, we'll see you in the next episode of the Unready Room and in the next Positively Trek. Until then, live long and prosper, sarcastically or straight, whichever you prefer. And see you again soon.